So I have theories on this. My theories are that the four turtles were based on the four Greek temperaments, which are basically four different psychological types that every person would fall under. And so it's easy to find one that sort of is reflective of your own inner self. And we all love ourselves, right? At heart, we're all narcissists. And so we want to see ourselves on screen, and that's what's happening. Or you see, your brother or your mother or whoever, and it would be weird to see your mother in one of the turtles. However, it's possible. And then in combination with the fact that they were born out of total irreverence, like that's where the turtles were created, to make fun of comic books, basically. And so because there's always, everything is sort of done with a wink, it's fun and it's without burden because it's so lighthearted. I grew up watching the movies because I have an older sister. She's 12 years older, and I wanted to do everything she did, and she watched the movies, and I just loved them. I just took to them. I was very small. 3, 4, 5 years old, and we were watching them on VHS. On a tiny 17-inch television. And I loved, I don't know, how sort of campy and silly but exciting and weird, and this sort of dark world that they lived in, but they were such a little bright light in that world, and I loved it. Well, when I was a kid, I didn't know any different. That tiny television was the best. The fact that we even had a television, I was so excited because we lived somewhere where most people didn't have televisions. But yeah, seeing them on the big screen is definitely a very different experience. So the new movie definitely falls in line, I think, with the 90s cartoon. I feel like tonally that's where it lands. And then we see a few new villains. We do have Shredder in this movie, but we also have Bebop and Rocksteady, which hardcore fans of the cartoon comic would know. And we also have sort of the master puppeteer, which is Krang, and he is a alien brain creature who lives inside the stomach cavity of a humanoid robot that he built. A lot of people love Casey Jones. So Casey that character is sort of he's irreverent. He's sort of a very New York-y, in your face. He's a vigilante, sort of reckless. And there are some of those elements that still exist in the Casey that we have in our movie as well, who's played by Stephen Amell. April is broken into TCRI, which is where Baxter Stockman's lab is, and she's stolen something she shouldn't have, and she's being chased by the Foot Clan and cornered, and is stuck, and the turtles haven't come to rescue her yet, and all of a sudden a hockey puck comes flying in and takes down one of the foot soldiers, and at the end of it all is standing Casey Jones. Well, aside from the main villain, Krang, he's unleashed a plot or a device that could potentially destroy the world, basically. They're also fighting Bebop and Rocksteady, and they're trying to shut down a device that is opening up over New York City that poses a threat to the entire world and human existence. The lair is amazing. That's one of the best sets I've ever been on, and I hope they never tear it down because it's so intricate and colorful and inspirational and creative, and that's one of my favorite sets I've ever been on. I think it's an award-winning set. Yeah, it's fun to see the movie because so much of it is done in post, but also it's crazy to see because you shoot so much footage and the movie can only be so long. So it's interesting to see what ends up on the cutting room floor, and then what actually makes it in, and then all of this new stuff that you never even imagined all of a sudden is in the movie along with you. That is the goal. I think that's everybody's goal. We all have our fingers crossed opening weekend for good numbers so we can get greenlit for a third. I love that it spans so many different generations, that you have people in their 40s excited to see it because they grew up with it when they were younger, teenagers. And then you have little kids who have been introduced to it through Nickelodeon and the cartoon that's on now. You have, 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds that want to see it. So that's such an interesting thing that you don't usually get when you make a movie to reach so many different people. It's definitely a lot bigger. There's a lot more action than the first one. It's also way lighter. They focused a lot on the comedy and the relationship with the turtles. There's just more turtles, more action, more spectacle. I think between the last movie and this movie, April is still working for Channel 6, but she's more focused on just her relationship with the turtles and sort of being a undercover. She's like a bridge for them between the sewers and the rest of humanity and sort of helping them try and fight their turtle crime. I think all the stuff they shot in Brazil is pretty insane because it's just gorgeous. They shot at the falls and it's sort of mind-blowing, the scope of that, and to watch it, for me, because I also loved the cartoon when I was a kid, watching the final sequence with Krang and the turtles is pretty exciting because it just reminds me, it makes me feel like a 6-year-old again.